So, very glad to be with you all today. Very first time in IG Ottawa. To be totally honest, it's been a while since my last IGD meeting. Thank you very much for having me. I guess this funnels me a bit into my intro. 37-year-old, father of two, proud father of two, including a 15-month-old little baby boy. This might resonate to the parents of a young kid in the audience, but in fact being with you today is a break from the chaos at home. Born and raised in Montreal by an Italian father and a French-Canadian mother, which explains the weird name that you're seeing up there, Jean-Normand. Spent 10 years in the game industry, coming from the aerospace, CAE for those who know this company, and mostly spent in two main studios, Ubisoft Montreal and Eidos Montreal. So here's a bit what we're going to discuss tonight. We won't go in deep, unfortunately, because it would take hours just to speak about these very specific topics, but I'll touch a bit on how we're doing things down in Montreal, who we are, what we've done, basic. Main concept cycles really around the innovation and creativity management within Square Enix West, mainly driven by my team at Eidos Montreal as well. Square Enix West, I'm referring to this because I'm responsible for the technology for the three Western studios of the group, IO Interactive, Crystal Dynamic, Eidos Montreal, and a bit of Square Enix Montreal as well. That's why I'm referring to Square Enix West. Within the proposed angle, I'll talk just a bit about the industry, the changes that actually occurs, and how is managing knowledge and creativity and innovation is actually important for us, and that holds feature for new innovative feature that actually holds value. So with different studios to support, with sometimes, and I stressed on the sometimes, a bit the similar needs between them. We're going to talk a bit about how our sharing process actually works to the benefit of all of them. A few example video, and should be it for tonight. Won't try to bother you too long. Apologize for those slides. They're actually extracted from a corporate deck, so please bear with me. But I'll draw your attention on some of those facts. Eidos Montreal is moving towards its teenage, towards its 10th anniversary. We're still a young studio, but we've actually grown a very, very strong reputation in Montreal, if you were to ask me. And I was an active participant for over 7 years at this studio. Strong installment, beloved franchise. You guys must know there's X, Thief, and Tomb Raider. Developed some in part, some fully in Montreal. But really the point here, and in the next slide, that drives most of my attention is, of course, innovation and creativity. I'm responsible for those two aspects of the studio, but also honesty and respect. Honesty and respect because the studio is creating great titles from great IPs, but it's done in a very enjoyable environment. We have a respectful policy regarding overtime, crunch management, which is an important value for us. So I'm not sure if you've read Amy Eaning's paper recently in Game Industry Biz. She was actually touching on that aspect. I really recommend it for you. We're like a big family, and I think that our employees' returning rate speaks for it. We see a lot of face that go sees in other studio out of doing games, and we see them coming back. It's very interesting and an LT industry in Montreal, for those who doesn't know really this industry much. Let's say it's straight. The active developers community, I'm not seeing that much here, but we're growing older. We're having different expectation towards the employees, and I think it's fine. In other studios, it's important as well. There's Ubisoft Montreal, who created their kindergarten, access to a doctor within the office. At least it was there just before I leave. So it changed a bit. With Labs, my team. It all started from a bunch of released resource who decided to push the technology boundaries as a single unit for the global interest of the different groups. We knew each other. We were from different field of expertise, but we went in a trench together for the time of a long game development. At fighting moments, love moments, stress moments, everything that everyone normally has in a game dev cycle, right? and I think we knew each other's strength, and that's a bit what made us successful, I guess, in the first place. And then the rest of the numbers are there. It's only been 2.5 years this department actually exists within the group. We've already contributed to 3 games that have shipped. We collaborate with 4 different studios on 3 different time zones. 14 expert actually came in lab structure one way or the other and left either for production or for other studios. We've delivered over 18 features in our product on more than 20 different investigations we've had, and we've been adding a year-to-year public appearance as well, as it's an important mandate for us. And how do we actually operate? Well, we solve complex industry problems, or at least we try to grow an understanding of it, its limitation, workaround. There are problems we're all struggling with, independently from which studio we are, and some of them are real-time simulation, air for grass, efficient AA, or shadow system as well, VR, or maybe some in the studio, in the cinema today. We must stay awake to problems to come as well, so that's why we're solving problems now and problems to come as well in 2 or 3, 4 years. Sometimes due to hardware changes, we've all been witnessing the new hardware changes from Microsoft and Sony as well, which is a turning point in a bit. Or new APIs such as the X12 as well. Those problems usually resonate to all studio of our group. We're sharing the knowledge. It's an important aspect for us to make sure that this knowledge cycles and we all get in the best out of it. And promotion, innovation, collaboration, positioning are just a few expectations from my team as well.
That's it.
Yes. That's it for the historic part of it. Just touch a bit on how the industry is actually changing right now. Experts agree that we're moving more and more over a creative economy. We're witnessing this in our domain. We're a strong contributor of it. We're adopting new technology very quickly. It's an area where knowledge is king and where innovation is at the base of the success. And it's especially true in entertainment and video game, given that our medium, our competitive advantage is actually immaterial. It's not the disc that creates or holds any value. It's not even the computer pushing those stuff in. It's the people behind it that holds the real value. If you've been recruiting resources or seeing people flying around, you might have witnessed how the key value and key players are being solicited right now. Companies with the most success these days are those who invested considerably in 2 aspects, innovation and in training. I'd say that if you want to hit the waves, you need to identify the available opportunity that sleeps around your office, grab them and try to make something out of it. And jumping on this, I think creativity and innovation is no longer an option. To survive, you must innovate. Kodak is a good example over there. For those who know the story, they're the very first who actually holds the digital camera prototype, but as this engineer was told, just don't tell anyone about it and sleep on it. Technological innovation is an important aspect, of course, but that's not it really. I'm more talking about innovation on internal processes as well, knowledge management, which is also required to efficiently maximize the internal process, avoid duplication of work, knowledge being lost, not properly indexed, shared in any way, and in order to centralize the company's strength more globally. And to do so, then again, rely on the employees themselves, given it's, anyway, our competitive advantage in the video game. So people is key in an innovative process, and they're embedding the knowledge. Innovation at its base is a mix of knowledge, imagination, creativity, and again, those concepts are deeply within the individual in our companies to different degrees. The diversity is also a direct contributor to this richness. Sharing, exchange, global collaboration are efficient solution to actually generate great ideas. No one loses in exchanging an idea. We're all
canon out of it. So we should try to come up with the right structure to make that work in our case. What is creativity? Combination of two knowledge owned to create a new surprising ideas that actually holds value, but you need to prove that it holds value, and it goes through process. Structure your knowledge to better innovate, as Peter Drucker says it. If we agree with this concept, innovation is no flash of illumination, it's actually hard work, and this work should be organized as any other business in our company. So, I'm an R&D director, managing a team of engineers and technical artists. It would be normal for you all to draw the direct conclusion that I'll be talking mostly about technology creation, but yeah, not exactly it. Innovation is everywhere in any type of business, and there are areas in the gaming industry where we're lacking on innovation. And for example, production processes, knowledge management and sharing. We've been doing a lot of the same for the last 20, 25 years, and I guess we're just too busy producing games than actually trying to figure out to do them better. I don't know how much of the indie community is in the cinema. Could you raise the hands? Indie. Good. That's awesome. I think it's a great place to innovate. It's not like trying to steer a big cruising ship like the studio we have, but it actually allows you a more organic way to come up with new concept and give it a shot and trying it out. And for those who don't know, La Guilde is to me a great innovation in some aspect. It regroups 75 different smaller indie studios in Quebec province. The idea, after speaking with a few key stakeholders of this initiative, is to be able at one point to share technology. Most of them are using external public commercial engines, Unity, Unreal, and they could benefit out of each other's investment into those engines and sharing those modules to make a bigger and stronger community. As well, sharing resources from a project to the other, ramp up, ramp down of those different resources so they don't lose them. Same as it's done in a bigger scale studio, is actually holding 2 or 3 different projects at the same time, just juggle with their resources. But they're also thinking about regrouping themselves to help negotiate corporate insurance, administration, account, finance, and enroll this in a more AAA manner for those seniors who started up big studios and jumping into the indie industry. This is to me a great innovation in some way. So, my talk is going to touch about different organizational structure and tools in place are soon to be completed in our studio that helps create better technology. And again, they have strong capabilities in other fields than only technology. Design, animation, art, and administration. I'm not pretending this is the only way, just take out anything that actually works for you. So, concept is pretty straightforward. Try to better understand the ideas that your people are having, the interest they have, and how it can help you. Try to organize this data a bit better so you can find it, iterate on it, give exposure to it, and share this knowledge. Find the actual ideas that are worth something and give it a shot and see what you can do with it. That's a bit the concept. And think about a skill that you guys have, an ability that you're using at work, but no one else knows. You're the only one who actually benefit out of it. Things that you've experienced yourself, or you've done demo, own, pet project, and so on. Is your employees or colleague are aware of it? Is it that you want to keep it secret, or you just don't know how to communicate that thing? That reminds me of a documentary I saw where an employee was about to retire and told his boss, for 25 years, you've paid me great money for my hands when for the same amount of price you could have my brain, you can have my head and my ideas. He said my head, but it just added the rest. That's kind of an extreme case, I agree. It's not really resonating in our industry anymore. We're taking good care we're taking better care about this aspect. But do you know all the extent potential of your employees? And I think I'd say that until a few years back, it wasn't the case in my personal case. Sorry. So skills ranging outside just the normal, I got this diploma or experience and I got XYZ skills. If we start back with the concept that the ideas are carried by the individual, then we must find a way to get a better visibility out of it. And let me tell you just a story. Returning from a weekend with a colleague of mine, we just had a chat together, and I sat there, and we discussed what we've done in the last 2 days. And then this guy just told me, I mean, he was very curious in trying out things on his own with the new DX12 API, trying to come up with new rendering paradigms and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, filling all the checkbox required to actually making this an official mandate for our department. I was like, yeah, but that's cool. So I just decided to tell this guy, bring this work from home in the office, kind of the opposite, right? People bring work at home. And then we're just gonna work on this. And this became our different buzzword here. Innovative culling system for an highly dense scene with an API that actually holds still a lot of secrets, opportunities, I'd say. That's what. So, knowing the knowledge and experience from your colleague and teammate has a great benefit. Resume are great, but what other skills? What other skills do they have, and what are other interests you wouldn't suspect? Take IBM, they have their Blue Page system. It's a system you can log in, search by a topic, search individual, and it will just list everyone that can actually help you for a given situation. Bombardier have their Heritage system. It's a complex system. It does this exact same, well, not this exact same, but the exact same idea I'm portraying right now, and a whole lot more, because the aerospace industry, what they're suffering right now is people leaving, baby boomers, which is not exactly the same as what we're suffering here with headhunters who's getting resources out of your office and so on. So they got a pretty big system. Electronic Data System, EDS, had their system as well, just before they've been bought by HP. So take the technical artist position. I'm not sure if anyone here has a technical artist background or had to recruit one at one point, but technical artist right now, yeah, of course, not only. It's a generic title. It's a bridge between art and programmation, but technical artists, there's like 5 different types of technical artists: profiler, performer, performance-oriented, script, shader, optimization, VFX, proceduralism is getting in the loop now with people who know Houdini. So everything is tech art. It's very easy. But how do you get that information from your internal resources? I have that project. I need that type of tech artist. I can poke Marc-André. He'll tell me we have 25 tech artists. We'll figure which one works with your project. We need more information. And it's not only in tech art. It's the exact same thing in rendering engineer. They have low-level PS4 experience, VR, and so on and so on. So when you're getting a bigger studio, it's interesting to get these additional information. So the concept is to rely on a dynamic directory that lists all the experience, special ability, and project you've been working on, and the last time you've used it. So it proves the relevance of it. So if I've been doing shader, but on PS3, you might not be the first person I get into my let's try to do a new material editor meeting. Easily accessible, manager can find the best fit with the right skills for the given project. They can rely on this system to find an experienced resource to fix an actual problem that they have, emergency on the project, who actually had an experience with X, Y, Z, middleware, or whatever. Relevant resource, relevant feedback from this resource who actually used that previously on another project. We're thinking about integrating WISE. Who knows WISE? What do you think about WISE? Okay, cool. Get in the meeting and we'll discuss about these things. And resource planning management from different projects when it's time to allocate resource to a new project. It's dynamic, it's easy. So the common goal of this system is to combine the available information found on external solutions, such as LinkedIn, but it's not an internal LinkedIn. That's not really what we're looking for. It's nothing too complicated. You let the employee update it itself. Just provide him, build it, and they will come type of approach. Trust me, they will invest time into it if they know that the producer is going to rely on this to find new resources for his project. If they are going to give me relevant training out of the skills I've made there. I've been doing shaders, but it's been 3 years I haven't done any Why not a refresher? So let's try to come up with relevant training as well for those resources. And reassignment and so on and so on. So such system allow a better understanding of the capabilities of our most valuable competitive advantage, our employees. So now that we know better the potential of our coworkers, how do you manage this potential? How do you repertoriate these things? Unfortunately, I won't be able to go into very, very deeply on that aspect. But how do you submit an idea at your company or to a key stakeholder? How is it done? What happened to those ideas? Do you guys have visibility over them? Are they exposed to you? Can you iterate on someone else's ideas to make it even better? Who decides what to do with it? Who owns that power to say your idea is good or your idea is crap? And is it tied to the company's vision as well? So these are many, many questions that such system could actually help. Are you still poking individual resources when you have a question about a system? So you've done that in the past. Could you tell me a bit how you've done it instead of trying to get a proper up-to-date repertoire of everything that was done in the company? So we're doing the same stuff from project to project. We're getting a bit better at it, I think. We're not doing it as much as we used to. I'll just do a small anecdote. I was working at Ubisoft on Assassin's Creed 1. We had an ambient inclusion, it was great. And then there was this guy, these guys on Splinter Cell Conviction, who had an amazing ambient inclusion. But we were kind of too small PME within the company. We weren't exchanging much. We were in fact more competing with each other instead of trying to just do better business for everyone's benefit in the end. So we're better at not doing the same, I'd say, but we're not so much at reusing similar concept in a new, innovative way, similar ideas or part of an ideas in a complete new solution. And I think that's key to success, and I'll try to show you a bit of an example here. So we've been hearing a lot about hardware adaptive tessellation in the industry. We've seen some usage of it. Call of Duty used it, Captain Clark with subdivision surfacing, for instance, but it's not really used throughout. There's a very low usage in the game today. Distance field, another knowledge. So hardware tessellation, distance field. It's getting more and more popular. Distance field ambient occlusion, Unreal just shipped such technology, and we're seeing this more and more. So we've built ourselves a good knowledge about these things, and we've tried to use them in a clever way, and I'll try to guide you through some of these examples. And reusing similar knowledge into a new innovative way. What you're about to see is just yeah, sorry. It's the trademark for the game. What you're seeing is the VFX in-house studio. We have visual work in Japan who actually designed this thing. And we have to recreate the same version for the end game. So here is, yet again, trademark effect, shield covering the character, protecting him from any damage. It needs to look alive, it needs to move, it needs to change shape. These are the requests from JJB, Jonathan Jacques Beltite, who's having all those type of very easy requests. Very easy to do, not that much. Visual effect, yeah, additional things. Triangular surfaces, of course, those X, you see triangles everywhere. Animation, hit reaction, first person vignette. So we've used tessellation, hardware tessellation, dynamic tessellation factor based on distance. It's our first usage. You're seeing the tessellation just changing on a distance. It's no LOD. And then we also had the geometry animation. That was a request. Of course, we used the distance field as well to be able to hit the geometry underneath the character when the shield is built. So that's the very early in-game version that we've done. And you also see the vignettes on the side. It's kind of a diamond shield. It activates and goes away. You see the movement. You see the lighting modified. So that's our very first usage. Well, that's one of the first usage we've done. We're only 2.5 years old. I've used tessellation on Thief, the game I've done before joining Labs. But it's not broad. It hasn't been used much. So you might have also played Rise of the Tomb Raider. This snow technology was developed by my group as well. So here's just a pitch of it of what is the intention. Yeah, motivation, trail depression. What they really were looking for was to have the footstep of Lara, the trail, but they also wanted to be able to identify patrol from NPCs. So clever people, clever players could actually just stand by there and look at the trails and see someone's over there, he's doing that patrol, or I could have that. They also wanted to have, it's in another slide, but they wanted ballistic as well to be able to react to the snow and any other dynamic object. So, of course, we have terrain mesh, no mesh, dynamic object, as I was saying. It was this one. Sorry. We've used snow tessellation as well. That did with a factor of 10. And you are going to my wire frame. Did very well, but when she found over there and the projector not that much, but you're seeing that the topology is very different from the distance. So we didn't really have to use any distance field in that situation, but tessellation was the main usage. It was important for the realization of this feature. Previous games done similar things. We can think about Batman, who actually had Batman's cap. Changing a bit the snow, but it didn't add a knee-high snow deforming on all those different situations, so Lara's footstep and geometry and so on. But instead what we've had is that, just to prove that it's so much not used and it's not really common, is that we were asked to prove that an untessellated geometry or a statically tessellated geometry would actually be less or more, would be more costlier than our solution. We've had those digits, so 1.6 milli for such feature in an area you're putting these, it's okay on 33 milliseconds. It's a good enough, an optimized enough feature, not to have to actually prove that the untessellated section is costing more. But when you're innovating, you need to convince people. When you're creating new stuff, you don't get the buyout very easily. So we've grown our knowledge. We reused existing knowledge on also Hitman. For those who played that game, my department actually created the ocean technology that's used throughout the game. They've used it for the ocean, but they've also used it for pools, they've used it for aquarium. It was funny, it wasn't designed for that, but it actually worked, so we were really glad that it could happen. So, just to give an example, it's a radial ocean mesh, roughly 800 meter across, divided into hectare patches. The total mesh diameter was found by placing different circles from a different point of view. You're seeing it in a lower section, so we can be able to define the playground. Base geometric density, pre-tessellation is kind of a vertices each 10 meter. It keeps a uniform distribution of the triangle and allow better control over the tessellation. So by just iterating on tessellation, we just grew our knowledge about it and understand how to better use it. We've used Gerstner wave system for our ocean, but we allowed ourselves to modify it with placeable assets, placeable wave modifier, which is very data driven. They put it where they want, they put it when they can afford those. And they can put it on the shoreline to just get those waves to hit the shore instead of having only one path. Here you're seeing the adaptive tessellation is actually on adaptive over camera distance, so the further restricted to the camera frustum. It's computed in vertex shader and passes on to the other stage for modulation of the tessellation factor, displacement amplitudes, and other weights, but you're seeing really dark area that actually doesn't impact those other additional patches with tessellation over cost. Just see how it is. So if we get back to the ID, I would have hoped to go deeper in existing knowledge, management system, etc., explain our system that we have. But it would have covered mostly my 45 minutes I have with you, and it would have been very low on graphic, and I would have probably been sleeping. Although I have one. No, kidding. Knowledge management is really a strategic must-have. If you were to ask me for any business that wants to stay competitive, any system is better than no system. And the idea is that you take anything that's relevant to you. Any system is better than no system. Think about it. You only have to structure it yourself. I hope that the last section allowed you a better understanding of the power of having such system to help you support new challenges ahead. Know your employees, how they could help you, ideation process and technique, design thinking, CK methods, brainstorm, which is more popular, just to iterate on those ideas in a group. The broader the group is, then the better ideas, or at least the more ideas you'll have, depending on what you're trying to reach. And dynamic program to handle your ID maybe, and allow iteration, sharing, and building upon this. And I think this leads me into my last image from this slide, which is the easiest one. Create, fail, try again, prototype, fail, change angle, put in a new knowledge in, try, change, fail. Structure in an organization that welcome chaos, so right to fail, supporting this philosophy with no return on investment guaranteed is, I think, the best structure to allow you to push to the full extent, to allow your employee just to take a bit further and not restrain themselves and limit the creativity they can come up with. It's a difficult concept to sell, I'd have to say. I've had questioned myself from management in regards of the return on investment, and they were behind the idea of such department. So it's not a given. So I spent the last 30 minutes talking about knowledge, creativity, management, and innovation process. What is the outcome from this investment? That Square Enix and Eidos Montreal made. All those great processes, tool, and concept are great, but what are they worth? Let me guide you to a bit of our team's achievement over the last 2.5 years. Lab's contribution to Rise of the Tomb Raider includes the creation of 6 main graphic features that brought a lot of focus on the game. That's a Digital Foundry articles, for those who knows a bit what Digital Foundry can actually, what they're actually doing. And features from Labs are among some of the best technical achievement in the game. To be able to, well, we also led multiple direct and indirect promotion of the game on the technical achievement we've done through major industry events and literatures, as it's a request from my team to share the knowledge, also inside but outside of the studio and back to the community. It's more than 2 years of continuous collaboration with almost all of Lab's team member on a subject or another on those 6 different things, 6 different main graphic features, and we've worked over 10 different features with them. And some that actually never made it in the game as well, with three that were exposed there. We've also tackled missing engine structure that our feature were pulling on, that those engines weren't having at the time. Hitman, we were really looking forward to that collaboration. It happened a bit towards the end. It got us to work together for a little over a year. And we've been able to come up with 3 different unique graphic features, including this exhaustive ocean technology. So proud of the work we've done with them. Of course, we naturally promoted the ocean technology in different ways. So we'll be at GDC 2017, most likely. We're still in second submission, so something can happen. And also including a blog post we've done internally that you guys can have a look if you're interested in knowing more details about it. Can't pass on talking about what we've done for this game and this guy. Proximity with the team was a strong benefit. Of course, we had access to different studio experts who helped us and collaborate with us. And it led the group Labs in tackling the biggest challenge of the XMD as the iconic feature called Titan Shield, and it's being at that I showed it earlier. those are extracted from our prototype and not from the actual game. Being an important pillar also for Eidos Montreal, we were heavily involved in sharing back with the community, as you said, some of our innovation and technology. And we also co-promoted technology with industry leaders such as AMD, Autodesk, and Hewlett Packard, just to name a few. We're going to have the cover of the next GPU Zen magazine, which is the next iteration of the GPU Pro series. So they renamed it, and we have an article into it as well. Of course, a window to the future. Aside from those collaborations, we're always looking into technology which could help position our games to be among the best. It's always based on a good dose of intuition, but as well as an heavy prototyping approach. And we propose a study to the group so they decide what works best for them. It was just a non-exhaustive list. I've already shown you the different plus the X12 technique, which is very promising. You might be more, you might know more about this new technology. Ubisoft have been very vocal about it, motion matching. So the idea is to replace complex graph with one single node algorithms that helps you benefit from high frequency animation coming directly from the motion matching, from the motion capture, sorry. And yeah, we always need to look into particles and shadows, lighting. Those are never-ending topics. Investigate into different lighting solutions, shadow solutions, self-occlusion, backscattering, and some mixed resolution.